I received a question this week, actually a couple, so let me take the first one. The question is, what makes people fall in love? As if I'm the only one who's got the answer, right? Okay. But let me tell you what my thought is. Number one, people don't fall in love, right? There's some like regression there. You know, if you're really loving somebody, you would grow in love over time, right? Because in the beginning you're infatuated, you got all these hormones swimming around, and you might think that that's love, but it's not. That's just the attraction that gets people together, it gets the hormones going, that type of thing. But where the real love would take place is when you see all the flaws in the other person and you get used to them and you get kind of bored. And then it's still something that you work on to live a life with that person. So you grow in love. You don't fall in love. I mean, you might fall out of consciousness in the beginning, and the love becomes something else. You know, but no. And the other part of that is that love really is not a feeling per se. It's it's more of what you do for the other person. So in the beginning, you're probably not doing much anyway, other than trying to get connected to somebody that you're infatuated with because they're totally new to you. So I don't even think that counts. But let me answer a little more directly, because I have asked other people what they think. What made you fall in love with this person? And they'll tell me a lot of things like, well, I can trust them. I feel secure. They make me happy. And when you take all of these things that people are talking about, it has nothing to do with the other person. Right? The other person's not making you, feel safe. And even if they were, the point of the matter is that it's not about the other person. The other person is saying that they're falling in love because they feel safe, they feel secure, they feel that they're being made happy by another person. So who in fact are they falling in love with? They are having the opportunity to fall in love with themselves. And they are having the opportunity to be able to express themselves, hopefully openly and honestly, and to have it be accepted by another human being. So as they are allowed, or they are given a safe place to open up their heart to another person and have it be accepted without a denial of who they are, without trying to change who they are, without maybe feeling some type of pain in the other person who tries to therefore control the other person. If they're being accepted 100%, what they're being allowed to do is just be themselves. So in a sense, it's very narcissistic. Most people, when they talk about falling in love, or this person maybe fall in love, it's just because their whole life is now being validated. They are now being accepted as a full person, and they can be themselves. So what's the question here? What makes people fall in love? You begin to fall in love with yourself when somebody else likes who you are, and they don't try to change who you are, and they don't try to cage you in any way, and they help you in your pursuit of who you are as a person. They're there for your growth, and they accept you, basically unconditionally. So that's the answer. It's narcissistic. You're not falling in love with another human being. You're using that person to fall in love with yourself. And so that's an answer that people don't want to hear, but that's the truth of it. Why do people cheat? People don't cheat because somebody else is hotter or more beautiful or anything like that. It's because they like who they are in that moment. They feel special. They feel young. They feel happy. They feel wanted. They feel whatever they might feel. And that's what that is. Again, it has nothing to do with the other person. It has to do with the other person being a blank slate or a mirror and holding it up and saying, okay, you see you, this is you, okay, you're acceptable and you're a good person. And that's really what any human being would need in this world. I have another question here. Somebody wanted to know. Interesting question too, and it's difficult to even read it in a way because people who talk like this, they're in pain, and so I can feel the pain as I'm reading it. But the question is, why do we love people who don't love us back? And here is the honest answer. Healthy people don't love people who don't love us back. It needs to be reciprocal. So what does that mean? It means that typically a person who loves someone who's not loving them back, they don't feel good enough. Something in their past has made them be more of a codependent, of a relationship addict. And I don't mean that in a bad term. When we're very young, right? We're born into this world naked, needy, and dependent. And as such, we need to keep those connections and those attachments going with our caregivers. And sometimes our caregivers are pretty careless. Sometimes they're just not connected with us. Sometimes they're not ready to be parents. Sometimes they're even worse than that. Sometimes they're abusive. Sometimes they're neglectful. Sometimes they're caring and they think that they love us as kids, but they just don't know how to be parents. And so what happens is that the child, in a desperate need for connection with their caregiver, will do anything possible in order to connect. And there they learn that even though they're being treated poorly, that something is probably wrong with them. And if they did a little bit more, just a little bit, they might earn the right to be loved. They might earn the right to be cared about. And this starts at a very, very young age. And they don't understand that this is dysfunctional. They don't understand that this can be very hurtful to them as they get older. And why don't they know? Because it's their environment. If a fish is in a fishbowl, the fish doesn't say, hey, you know what, I'm in a fishbowl right now and I'm in the living room on this guy's counter. Like, a fish doesn't have that awareness, and neither does a child. The child thinks it's normal. The child will go out of its way to be maybe exceptional at sports, at school, to always be around, to always do the right thing, say the right thing, whatever it is, to try to keep that connection with their parent. And they're trying to hold something together that sucks, basically. So now you take that person as an adolescent or as an adult. And the question is, why do they love people who don't love them back? Well, now they start to understand that they're not getting back what they really need. But their way of thinking about it is, let me give more. Maybe if I got a raise at work, they'll be impressed by my money. Maybe if I wore different clothes, they'll be impressed by my look. Maybe if I worked out, they'll be impressed by my body. Maybe if I let them do bad things to me, they'll understand that I'll always be there no matter what. And why not? That's how they kept the relationship together with their family. So now they're going to use that same type of mentality with romantic partners. But it doesn't work like that, because what happens is that if you tend to be a giver, you tend to be someone who has no boundaries, where you let people step on you, you let people do whatever they're going to do, you don't put a stop to it, you don't leave. You're going to attract people that are more than willing to continue to abuse you in any which way they're doing. And how do you stop this? Well, awareness. Awareness to know what's going on. And how do you know if somebody's aware? Well, let me answer it like this. How do you know when someone's not aware? And this is it. if somebody is asking the question, why do we love people who don't love us back? That shows, it shows a level of unawareness that will continue to hurt that person, because they're saying, I'm loving someone who's not loving me back. They're not understanding that they're not necessarily loving that person. It's not out of their morality of being nice and caring and loving and being accepting of all the other person's bad behaviors. That's a false morality. They're not the good person in this relationship. I mean, they can be a good person, but those actions are not what we would frame as good. They're destructive to that person. It's a false morality. What it is really also is an attempt to hold something together because they're scared to death of being alone. And they frame it as being a good moral person, that I'm so loving and they're just not, and if I love this person to death, they'll turn around. What needs to happen there is awareness of what's going on, that they are fighting for the relationship and they're not really fighting for the love that they deserve. If they were fighting for the love that they deserve, they would put a period at the end of that and they would draw a boundary and say, I need something as well. I need to be treated like this. And if I'm not treated like this, then I will do this. And so that has to happen. Just to reiterate, it's a false morality to believe that you're a good person because you continue to do things for someone who continues to hurt you. That's a weakness. That's not morality. So again, I'm going to leave it with that. So that's my two questions that I wanted to answer today. What makes people fall in love? I think I gave you a pretty good short answer on that. And why do we love people who don't love us back? And the short answer on that is because of some type of childhood trauma that makes us believe that we're not good enough and we need to do whatever we need to do in order to hold a relationship together. And let me add to that. If it were possible for that person to meet someone who was not abusive, I would like to ask the question, could you even accept the love that somebody's giving you? Because it would be very foreign to you. So thanks for listening, and send in some more questions. Thank you.